Okay, hello there. My name is Brad, also known as Fensty on pretty much most websites and MTGO. This is my first deck tech for Pauper. This is Pauper Red Green Domain. Red Green because that's what all the cards are in the main deck. Domain because there's domain stuff in it. I mean, there's other stuff in the sideboard that's not red or green, but we'll get to that. So, here is the deck. All these wonderful cards right here. Sideboard's over here. I'll get to that in a bit. So, I'm going to start with going through the creatures that I have in this deck. So first off, we have Wild Nacatl. He is a 1/1 for green. Gets +1/+1 when you control a mountain and when you control plains. So, 1/1 for 1, and nothing impressive. 3/3 for 1, pretty good. I mean, most people know what Nacatl is. It was banned in Modern because it was thought to be too good. I never thought it was too good, but that's another story for another day. Next up, we have Plated Geopede. Plated Geopede in my original, my paper version, was actually Kird Ape. When I came online and saw that Kird Apes were $250 each, I'm like, no, I'm not paying $250 for a Kird Ape. So I looked around and I found Plated Geopede, and I actually like the Plated Geopede better than the Kird Ape. Plated Geopedes usually will end up being a 3/3, and with the 8 fetches that I have in the deck, which I'll get to later, or you can see over there, it's quite often will be a 3/3 on blocking too, which makes it much harder for your opponents to swing through and actually hit you. So Plated Geopede is very good. Next up, I have Matka Riders. So Matka Riders is a domain. So it gets power and toughness equal to the number of basic land types you control. It's 2 and green, so it's a 3. So usually it'll end up being a 3/3 for 3, but it'll quite often be a 5/5 for 3 or a 4/4 for 3. And in Pauper, most people just run Bolt, and some run Flame Slash, and once it gets to 5/5, it's very hard to kill outside of blocking or Tribal Flames, but not many decks run Tribal Flames except like my deck. The last creature, we have Hooting Mandrills. A Delve All-Star, a common 4/4 for 6. 4/4 for 6 would be terrible, never played. But the fact that I'm often casting it for usually 3 mana and then 3 cards in my graveyard, or 4 and 2, and sometimes even I can exile 5 and just pay a green for a 4/4 trample. You can't beat that. Once again, it doesn't die to Bolt, and it tramples, which is kind of annoying for your opponents. Next up, we have the non-creature spells. Start off with Lightning Bolt. Deals 3 damage. Pretty much self-explanatory, just kills things, just toss it in your opponent's face when you need to. Abundant Growth. So the Abundant Growth in the main deck is more just used to cycle. So I just pay the green, slap it down, draws me a card. The deck's a little wonky for land, so it also I can slap it onto an island, a plains, or a swamp once I get it, and then that covers my green and red sources too. In the sideboard it does more work because I have stuff that's not green or red. So I can just slap it onto anything and I can access my sideboard cards more easily. Next we have Might of Alara. And this might be one of my favorite cards in the deck. It probably is. Just because you can pay 1 green and you're often going to give something +5/+5. So you're turning a Hooting Mandrills into a 9/9 Trampler, you have an 8/8 Nacatl, or even a 10/10 Matka Riders. That happens in... I don't think that happens in one of the games. I think one of the games I have a Plated Geopede that I get up to a 10/10 with a fetch land, fetching, and so on. Just slap my opponent's HP in half. That's a lot of fun to do. People do not see Might of Alara coming because they don't realize it's a common that people are going to play. Now, when I'm playing Domain, they do see Tribal Flames coming, because Tribal Flames is one of the best Domain spells. It was played in the Domain Zoo deck in Modern. And yeah, sometimes it might just be 3 damage for 2. I mean, it'll still kill a lot of things, but when you get all 5 land types in play, which will be greatly helped by the next card I'm going to show, Tribal Flames can punch through a quarter of your opponent's life. It also kills 5 toughness stuff. So, what's that card called? A Fengrid Marauder. It kills that, which is relevant in one of the games. I mean, it also will kill Delvers or just about any other creature that's relevant. It'll kill Gurmag Angler. I haven't run into any of them, but it would kill that too. Next, Nylea's Presence. So Nylea's Presence is another cycler. It's very similar to Abundant Growth. However, this one gives the land the basic land types. And this is very relevant for Domain. because it means I can slap it on, like, turn 2 I can go like, turn 1 forest, turn 2 island, slap Nylea's Presence on the island, suddenly my domain is 5. So next turn, Maka Riders is a 5/5, Tribal Flames is 5 damage. While Nikata also will be a 3/3 no matter what. It covers, like, the mountain and the plains type there. I'm a big fan of it. It also allows me to play, like, the sideboard cards that are off color, which, A+. Next we have Rampant Growth. So Rampant Growth is just to ramp you up. It gets you, if you don't have like that Nylea's Presence, it gives you a way to grab the island, the plains, and swamp, or if you need the mountain, just to up your domain count and such. Exploding Borders. So I only run 2 of this. It's the only 2 of. And that's because it's like Rampant Growths 5 and 6 and Tribal Flames 5 and 6 all slapped together. Like it literally is the 2 of them jammed together. It only hits players, but oftentimes like I'm playing this, so I'm getting a land and hitting my opponent for 4 or 5 damage. Yeah, it's a 4-drop. That's why I only run 2 of them. I wouldn't run more than 2. So now getting to the lands. So for lands, we have 4 Evolving Wilds, 4 Terramorphic Expanse. So the fetches. It'll get me any of the basics. Now I run 5 forests because I've got all these green 1-drops, and I want to make sure that I'm able to like play Abundant Growth or Nylea's Presence on turn 1. Like Lightning Bolt and Tribal Flames aren't as critical for me to have right away. Plated Geopeat I don't really need right away either. Like usually like Plated Geopeat on 2 or 3 is fine, especially like if I have like an Expanse or Evolving Wilds to play after it. 2 mountains, same thing. I don't need the red source right away. And then I run 1 island, 1 plains, 1 swamp in case like I don't have the Nylea's Presence, so I can tutor them up with these or with the Rampant Growth. So the deck runs. The mana's 18 lands. It's all over the place. It's definitely a test. Like my original build had 2 islands, 2 plains, 2 swamps. I'm like, this is way too much. Though my original one also had I can't think of the name of it. The Manta from Fifth Dawn with Sunburst on it. So that's why I had all that stuff. But like this deck was originally, I looked through my Modern Masters 2015 cards and saw a whole bunch of domain stuff. Like I saw Tribal Flames, I saw the Maka Riders. I forget what else was it. I think like the Terramorphic Expanse was from that. I had Dragon Soul Knight in there too, which was really cool, but like the WUBRG activated cost just wasn't getting there. I had Eldrazi in the original build of this too. I'm like, no, this is not an Eldrazi deck. This is like a low mana deck. Like Hooting Mandrills is the most expensive spell in here, but even that I don't think I'd ever pay 6 unless like I had nothing else to do and I had 6 mana. And if I had 2 of them, I'd totally play the first one, just tap out for the 6. I don't care what my opponent's going to do. Okay, so now to the sideboard. So for the sideboard, I have Relic of Progenitus. So I haven't had a use for it yet, but something that could come in handy. There's some flashback in the format. There are other delve cards, like if my opponent's playing Gurmag Anglers. I mean, I'm not too worried about the Anglers, and I need like my own stuff for Hooting Mandrills, but this is here in case I need it. Disfigure. Disfigure is probably my favorite card out of the sideboard. I brought it in almost every match. I was killing Delvers. I was killing all sorts of stuff with it. They're not gonna expect it out of a main green red deck. Especially like once I slap an Abundant Growth or Nylea's Presence on something, I can just go ham with it. Electricity, there's lots of X1s in the format, lots of tokens. I brought this in several times. I cast it once, I think, or maybe that was a match against a friend. But like Electricity is good in this format. Flame Slash, it's another removal spell, 4 damage, so it gets stuff that's bigger than Lightning Bolt. I more need it for like the Cyclops decks. I mean, granted, I have to do it on my turn, so if they have like mutagenic growth for response, like then I'm kind of SOL. But at least they're casting it on my turn and not on their turn, and that's fine with me. I'm getting it out of their hand. Prey Upon. So this card I brought in, I might switch this over to Pit Fight at some point, because like the sorcery versus instant doesn't really matter too much to me, and like I find there are times when I have like excess mana. But pretty much the reason I play Prey Upon is for the most part my dudes are bigger than their dudes. Like I've got 3/3s for 1, I got 5/5 for 3, I got a 6/6, a 4/4 for usually 2 or 3 in the Hooting Mandrills. Plated Geopeat I can fight with it too, like after I play a land. But it's pretty much just another removal spell for me to get rid of creatures. So I ain't scared of creatures. COP Red, Once again, it's very good against like the Cyclops decks. Like if I just resolve this and leave the 1-mana up, if they don't have the bounce spell for it, then well, they're kind of in trouble. Even if they do have it, I can just respond with it and target the Cyclops, and then it doesn't even matter because then I can just slap it back down the next turn. I mean, maybe they have a counter spell. That's another story for another day. Ray of Revelation, there's some enchantments floating around. It's just nice to have, especially since I can just cast it for its regular cost with my mana base and flash it back if need be. Tanner's Edict, if I run into Boggles, it's good against that since I can get rid of their one creature. I hypothetically could get up to that 7 mana to flash it back. If that happens, then we got a problem, but whatever. And Ancient Grudge. For Affinity, if I run into it, it's gonna blow up 2 of their things, and it's in my colors exactly, so I've got nothing to worry about there. So there's my deck. So I did my matches. I was expecting like the 2 to 3 wins. I ended up with 4 wins. One of them was a rage quit, which is the last one, which was really funny. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this, and then you can watch the 5 matches after this and have a nice day, I guess. Adios.